Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. Recently, the US and Iran have exchanged a flurry of assaults over Iran's nuclear program, compelling observers to wonder whether a future conflict is almost inevitable. President-elect Obama called Iran's nuclear quest unacceptable. But despite the US saber-rattling, Iran is standing firm. We shall never give up our rights, even if we have to go to war, Iran says. Sanctions against Iran next year will be painful. And with oil prices expected to plummet, can Iran keep its people peaceful and continue marching towards the bomb? An early sign of a potential future accommodation or confrontation will come from Secretary of State designate Hillary Clinton. As a hawk in the Obama administration, she is likely to throw the gauntlet at Ahmadinejad's feet very early on in the game. Zain Awad reporting.
The new face of a new Iran policy.
Thank you.
That's what many are making of American President-elect Barack Obama. He's recently declared his commitment to negotiate with Iran face to face.
In the long term.
He was elected on a platform for change, and he's broken with the Bush administration's rejection of direct talks with Iran, opting instead to walk down a new diplomatic path, one he calls a carrot and stick approach.
In terms of carrots, I think we can provide economic incentives. Iran could benefit from a more open economy and being part of the international economic system. We also have to focus on the sticks, and one of the main things that diplomacy can accomplish is to help knit together the kind of coalition of countries that would agree that in order for us to change Iran's behavior, we may have to tighten up sanctions. We need to ratchet up tough but direct diplomacy with Iran, making very clear to them that their development of nuclear weapons, their threats to Israel, their funding of terrorist organizations are unacceptable.
Obama did not mention them by name, but this is one of the many organizations in Iraq that Iran is believed to be funding and training. The Mahdi Army. The group is committed to fighting US presence on Iraqi soil. And unlike other armed Shia groups, the Mahdi Army refuses to integrate into the Iraqi army and police. It's the armed wing of the Sadrist political movement. Sadrist ministers resigned from the Iraqi cabinet in 2007 because they believe that their government is not committed to withdrawing US and other foreign troops quickly enough.
We're sending...
The Sadrists want the US to withdraw its troops immediately from Iraq. They reject any other alternative. The Sadrists command a large chunk of the Shia vote. And this is the reality on the ground that the American president-elect will be facing. Obama and his team of advisors will undoubtedly face a number of foreign policy challenges, but few as pressing and as intractable as Iran's role in neighboring Iraq.
Bonjour.
To get a sense of the escalating tension between the US and Iran, I'm delighted to be joined from Washington by David Foley, Deputy Director of Iranian Affairs at the US State Department, and from Tehran by Dr. Sadiq Ziba Kalam, Professor of Political Science at Tehran University, and from London by Dr. Burhan Al-Chalabi, Senior Fellow at the Royal Institute of International Affairs, better known as Chatham House. Welcome to Inside Iraq. Ziba Kalam, let me start with you. In Tehran, do you make a distinction between the tough position of President Bush and the new President-elect Obama? Are they talking the same language, the same policy, or do you draw a distinction between them?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Our anticipation in Tehran, our expectations in Tehran were that we should observe changes, substantial and meaningful changes from Washington. Unfortunately, so far, it has been a continuation of the same old story that we have been hearing during the past, not only from George Bush, but actually from the rest of U.S. presidents.
But that tells you, Mr. Ziba Kalam, whether the occupant of the Oval Office is George Bush or Obama or whoever, the policy remains the same, and that is Iran's nuclear quest is unacceptable to the U.S.
No, it isn't the question of, Jassim, I must disagree with you. The question is not very much the question of nuclear activity, Iran's nuclear program, because that has been going on during the past 3 or 4 years. The animosity the hatred that Iran has felt, Islamic Iran has felt from Washington, goes much beyond the nuclear program. And we've been hearing this from Washington right since the fall of the Shah and the establishment of the Islamic Republic.
Well, let me get explanation from a member of the U.S. administration, an official. David, is your objection to the very essence of the Islamic State of Iran, or basically your gripe and your tension and your displeasure is limited to the nuclear quest?
It's not just the United States that's concerned about Iran's push for a nuclear capability. We have been engaged in multilateral diplomacy with the IAEA, with the UN Security Council, with the P5+1. Everybody is deeply concerned about Iran's nuclear effort. With regard to the long-standing differences between us and Iran, there is a treaty between us, the Algiers Accord. We have said repeatedly we are not looking for regime change. We want to see behavior change from the Iranians. They should not be feeling hatred coming from the United States. Sure, we understand that they talk in the language of hatred there in Tehran. We certainly do not. We are looking for a diplomatic solution, together with all of our allies, to the problem of Iran's pursuit of a nuclear capability.
Burhan Al-Chalabi, that diplomatic solution have been tried for the past almost 6-7 years. It has not worked, and most probably the Obama administration is going to go through that route in the first 3-4 years of its tenure. Is it likely they will resolve something, or is it likely that Iraq might become the next battleground between Tehran and Washington?
I think it's important to put into context and perspective this so-called hostilities between the United States and Iran. It's a myth. There are
What do you mean it's a myth, Burhan? Are they role-playing?
There are no genuine... Please let me finish. There are no genuine hostilities between Iran and the United States. What there is a partnership that has, which is cleverly and meticulously executed through the politics of perception management, disinformation, and deception. And this partnership has yielded serious and substantial dividends both to the United States of America and to Iran. With the collaboration of Iran and the United States now has control of Iraq and Iraqi natural resources with a minimum of collateral damage. And with the help of the United States, Iran has fulfilled its historic ambition, and that is the sovereignty over southern Iraq and dominance over the region. So therefore, this talk about differences and hatred, what have you, it doesn't exist. It's a partnership which is working extremely well.
Well, definitely that is one view, that is one assessment and perception how this Iran-US relation is unfolding. But Ziba Kalam, as David said, this antagonism towards Iran is not limited to the U.S. You listen to what Sarkozy just said a couple of days ago, that he will not sit on any table across from Ahmadinejad. He does not represent Iran. And they object very much to the rhetoric of Iran, especially Ahmadinejad vis-a-vis Israel.
Well, I disagree with what our President Ahmadinejad has been saying about the state of Israel and the Holocaust. And I think his words have been misused by opponents of Iran, actually to extend the sanctions, etc., hostile policy towards Iran. Everyone knows that Iran is militarily in no position to actually make any threat against the state of Israel. Now, David Foley says that U.S. has nothing against Iran, Islamic Iran. But there again, the activity and the motives of U.S. leaders speak differently. I mean, look at the number of sanctions that U.S. has initiated at the Security Council against Iran. Look at the sanctions that United States have been using against Iran for decades. The role that United States played in the Iran-Iraq war.
If that is the case, Ziba Kalam, hold on, just David, before you answer, is there a veiled threat in what Obama said? There is a tough diplomacy. Is he saying that sanctions will be increased? in his term?
I represent the current administration.
Hold on just a second, Zibakala. This is for David.
So,
yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, and you know, I can't speak about what the new administration is going to do, but I think it's obvious. First of all, there are very serious differences with respect to the guests from Tehran. We have a lot of problems with Tehran and their activities, destabilizing activities in Afghanistan, in Iraq. They're state sponsor of terrorism, their activities in Lebanon, and support for Hamas in blocking a Palestinian peace agreement. There are a lot of differences. However, these should be resolved diplomatically, and we think there are opportunities to do this. I have to say that it's reasonable to expect, and most people in Washington believe, that there will be new opportunities in the new Obama administration, and that's about as far as I can go. But I think it's obvious that we are going to continue to participate with our allies with the P5+1 process in support of the IAEA and the UN Security Council in trying to achieve the goal, the universal goal of the international community, which is Iran without a nuclear weapon, Iran somehow at peace with its neighbors, somehow as a stabilizing force, a new way forward for Iran, and we think that's possible.
David Foley from the U.S. State Department, thank you very much. We'll take a shorter break now. When we come back, we'll listen to Burhan Al-Chalabi. Stay with us.
I think we need to ratchet up tough but direct diplomacy with Iran, making very clear to them that their development of nuclear weapons would be unacceptable.